I picked up this idea from a really young age. Life should be happy. Life should be successful, whatever that meant in my mind. I should be energized. And so I thought I needed to put forward that front and act that way. Uh, Long story short, getting to kind of the edge of nothing was working anymore. I had felt like I was failing at a lot of things. I had ran out of any mask I was putting on. And I was in a place of desperation. And that was the place where I finally, I remember having this inner battle with my mind where I was like, come on, Lyndsey, let's just be grateful. Let's be positive. And I remember this thought in my head that was like, Lyndsey, like, what's really going on? What do you really, really want to say?
Welcome to the Kindness Factor podcast, sharing life-changing personal stories of the transformational impact of deep kindness. Hosted by
Dr. Elia, the happiness doctor,
and Randy McNeely, the kindness giver. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome to another episode of the Kindness Factor podcast. I'm Randy McNeely, known as the Kindness Giver. I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Dr. Elia Gourgouris, the happiness doctor. And we are so thrilled today to have Lyndsey Van Sickle in the audience with us, sharing the mic with us today. Lyndsey's a certified speaker. She's a member of the National Speakers Association Mountain West Chapter Board, and she's also a master graduate of the Rapport Leadership Program. She was a finalist in the NSA storytelling competition. She's the author of an amazing book called The Black Book. She's a passionate wife and mother to 4 with a love for speaking and outdoor adventures with her family. Lyndsey understands, here's the beautiful thing, Lyndsey really understands what it's like to live under immense pressure and see how things we don't say block productivity and passion. In other words, sometimes we don't share the things that we ought to be sharing, and she knows how to help bring that out. Her programs are hands-on and focus on the real cause of burnout, and she helps professionals get back to their original passions. Lyndsey, we're so grateful that you have the opportunity to join us, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day.
Yeah, I'm excited to do this with you both. Thanks for having me.
welcome to the show. We're excited to get to know you better.
Thank you.
One of the things that we do right off the bat is we always, of course, the point of the show is to share tremendously impactful, what we call kindness hero stories. So we ask our guests right off the bat, can you think of an experience where someone stepped up as a kindness hero in your life and impacted you in such a way that it was transformative and inspired you to want to go and pay it forward? Do you have a story like that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, there's so many, since you mentioned this morning, Cheryl, you mentioned interviewing her, how fantastic she is. I have one about her. She came to one of my very first speaking jobs. She was a coach and mentor, but she showed up, didn't even know, showed up, cheered me on, supported me. That's the kind of kindness and leadership that she shows. And I remember being so encouraged and so touched that she would be there in the crowd and walk the walk and lead by that kindness. Maybe it was small to her. To me, it was huge. It was out of her way. It was a day. So kind, incredible.
Isn't it interesting how those little things become the big things for us? We talked a little bit about that last week when we were talking to Cheryl. She talked about how small things end up becoming a lot of times things that drive bigger or greater things in our lives.
But I think also, go ahead.
I was just saying, yeah, that will stay with me forever.
I think in relationships, when we truly care and love about those around us, we show up when they need us the most, not when it's convenient necessarily, not when it's easy. But that's when it matters the most, right? So Cheryl just did what she always does, and it was a big deal to you, but for her, it's like, well, this is just what you do.
Yeah. True. It was just who she was. It's like she didn't even think into it.
Well, so how did that experience inspire you? How did obviously you still remember it? How has that impacted you to go out and strive to give kindness to other people?
Yeah, if she's gonna show up like that and I see her do it over and over again, even when things aren't perfect, even when she doesn't have a brand new keynote perfectly figured out, I see that she knows she can make an impact and a difference anyway. And that's been huge. Having her just show up, it made me say, I can show up as I am. I can make a difference right now. I can do something that feels awkward or takes a lot of bravery. And, and then I see the difference be made up just by showing up.
The fun thing about kindness is that it's usually doesn't cost anything. And it doesn't even take a lot of time. It's just a thought that leads to an action. The action leads to a reaction from the receiver's end. And then that receiver becomes the giver. And then it just keeps, like, it's the ripple effect and keeps snowballing. And that's the beautiful thing about it. It crosses nationalities and ethnicities and religious backgrounds and socioeconomic status. Kindness is the greatest gift, honestly, that we can offer one another and we can offer to humanity. So I love that you're a kindness advocate and you're in this space. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how do you help? Because I love, Randy, I hadn't read your introduction before, that what we don't say can end up harming us in some ways. Can you speak to that a little bit more? I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah. Well, I had gotten to my late 20s, honestly, with waking up every single day and putting on a mask of how I thought life should look. I picked up this idea from a really young age. Life should be happy. Life should be successful, whatever that meant in my mind. I should be energized. And so I thought I needed to put forward that front and act that way. Long story short, getting to kind of the edge of nothing was working anymore. I had felt like I was failing at a lot of things. I had ran out of any mask I was putting on. And I was in a place of desperation. And that was the place where I finally, I remember having this inner battle with my mind where I was like, come on, Lyndsey, let's just be grateful. Let's be positive. And I remember this thought in my head that was like, Lyndsey, like, what's really going on? What do you really, really want to say? And I had never done it. Like, that was terrifying to me to look at what I really felt in my heart, those unsaids that we were just talking about. But I felt encouraged and I felt like I had nothing to lose. And I even had this big gratitude journal in front of me that morning. And I remember starting to just finally unleash and say what was wrong, what was struggling, what I had failed at, the people I had disappointed, how I had disappointed myself, the unsaids of my life. And I remember they piled out. It was so fast, and I had filled up 3 pages front and back, kind of writing on top of each other, giving voice to all of it, and at the end I tore it all up. I didn't feel lighter, but I started to feel a little bit better. And as time went on, I started to step back into my power. I didn't realize it then, but it's because I was owning the circumstances of my life, owning my story, rather than leaving it all this big mystery. I could start to grab onto it. And then the stress I had felt that was so built up was releasing its hold on me by looking at it, by saying it. And the piece I've really realized is that all of those things that I experienced, those things that we felt, that of course they're not bad, it's not wrong. They just need space, space. And then that's when they release.
Lyndsey, what you just described is the recipe as to how to arrive at authenticity.
Oh,
If you think about
that's a cool element of it. Yeah, I'm gonna simmer on that.
When a wallet was returned just moments after it was lost, a purpose was found. This one act of kindness inspired the formation of the nonprofit Kindness Worldwide to create a culture of kindness in communities throughout the world. Kindness Week Worldwide mobilized the entire community in York, Pennsylvania, featuring initiatives and playbook programs including blood drives, kindness cards, K-12 and college students embracing kindness, and an innovative means of community policing, kindness citations. If something so magical can happen in York, Pennsylvania, the same and other inspirations can happen anywhere and everywhere. Our Screen Scenes initiative featuring the Kindness Factor will showcase these many stories of kindness. Let's include your community among them. Kindness is the heartbeat of the world. Together, with your support, we can make all its hearts beat as one.
Please do. Because you're basically what you're saying is there were parts of you that were either suppressed, neglected, and they were dying to get out. They were dying to have a voice. And once you allowed that, and a lot of times, like you're right, we're raised like, just be happy, don't be frustrated, don't be angry, just like positive, put a smile on your face, like all that stuff, which is all fine and good. But human beings have such a range and a plethora of emotions and feelings. And in essence, they're all good because they all make up who we are. The frustration, the anger, sometimes even we call them maybe the darker stuff, maybe a jealousy or envy or whatever. If that's part of our who we are, give them voice and then watch what happens. And as you integrate every single part of that, then you, Lyndsey, when you showed up after that, it's all of you, not parts of you. And when you do that and you come from your authenticity, then that's the most powerful thing you can do. Because people can now they can really relate to your message.
Something else that goes right along with what Elia was saying, as part of what you were doing too, as you were showing yourself a tremendous amount of kindness in the form of self-care, you needed to take the time to write in that journal, to give voice to those feelings, to give voice to the things that you were thinking about. And that was a tremendous amount of self-care that you did at that point. If you hadn't taken the time to do that, if you hadn't taken the time to, in reality, show value and appreciation for yourself, for what was going on in here and in here, and given voice to that, how would that have impacted your life if you hadn't taken the time to do that?
Well, it really was just that. It was a line in the sand. I thought I needed something else, someone else to hear me, to help me, to make things fine. And right, those things just needed to be heard by myself.
Right, exactly.
So it opened the door to starting to accept and work on that work and own it and move forward in that. And I love it because then it wasn't, like you said, Dr. Elia, it wasn't this successful Lyndsey and this mom Lyndsey and this Lyndsey who struggles. It really, that just resonates. It's the integration of all of it together.
It brought out the real Lyndsey. Yeah, like Elia said, the authentic Lyndsey.
But far too many people actually try to suppress, repress, deny that it even exists. What we call our dark side. To me, it's not even the dark side. It's just a side. We put labels on it. Light and darkness and all that stuff. It's not a dark side. It's humanity, because human beings have. Hopefully, we experience all of those things: happiness and grief. Right? We experience success. We experience pain. We experience sometimes envy and jealousy. Sometimes we experience kindness and tenderness and compassion for ourselves and for others. And when we bring it all together, it's beautiful when that happens. Because basically what you're saying, I accept and I love every part of Lyndsey.
It is the humanity.
Yeah. Thing that's beautiful about it too is every one of us needs to have that experience. And Elia talked about the opposition, the pain and the happiness, the joy and the sorrow and all those things. If we didn't go through those challenges and have those experiences, we wouldn't grow. We wouldn't become better. We wouldn't, develop into the person that, make progress toward developing into the person that we were meant to be, the good, kind, happy, cheerful people that we're all meant to be. And think about what that experience did for you, Lyndsey. You look back on it, it was a hard time. I'm sure at that time in your life when you were going through that was really hard. I'm sure it had to be really hard, but at the same time, it was freeing. And because it helped you to find and free up the real Lyndsey to come out and look at the beautiful person you've become now.
Well, thanks. Yeah. There were huge things at that point that had built up, and it was funny. I thought that those were the things that had the power that I couldn't look at, and realizing there was nothing there. The power was in me avoiding it, and once I looked, there was nothing there to fear. And even you think of being a leader in the workplace, the energy alone that it takes, right? To try to say, I should be a leader like this, and it put that mask on, or I should show up in this way, and pushing all these other parts of ourself away. It feels so like it sucks the energy out of me, even thinking about it. right? And that's been my kind of my journey that I get so lit up about. I get fascinated thinking with, oh, why is that scary? Why do we not want to look at that piece? You know, what are we pushing away there and why?
What's remarkable is that you figured that out in your late 20s. Most people don't even get there in their until they get their 40s, 50s, or 60s, honestly. And they wore the mask for a very, very long time. The fact that you figured out so early in your life is such a blessing, not only to you, but then the people that you coach and the people that you help.
Well, thank you. It felt like I was spinning my wheels and so stubborn forever. And sometimes I still, of course, find myself there.
Well, so, you know, I can't help but stop and think, well, how did that experience empower you in your efforts to help other people, to help and to lift and to build and strengthen those around you, and in your speaking and in your business? How did that help you?
One way it broke past,
Empower you is maybe the better word to say. How did that empower you?
yeah, it broke past everything where I thought everything fit into a box, and I'm realizing people are capable of so much more than I realized. Businesses are capable of rising to so much more. As an individual, there's nothing we can't accomplish if we're willing to dive in, look at it all, own it all, see it all, right? That's the energy that comes. So I really, when I see someone, I'm so excited because I can just see this possibility, this potential. I'm such a dreamer, and it's endless. Like there's no stop to any of it. And I really say that that has come from this work of the Black Book and looking at the unsaid, acknowledging.
Is that the premise of the Black Book? Can you speak to it a little bit about this?
So yeah, it's right here. It says,
I see that, yeah.
for all the things you feel you can't say. So
Oh,
it has specific prompts and a process to start to unfold that, to look at that. You know, when I speak to businesses, we talk about the most difficult and avoided pieces in the workplace, the things that people normally avoid behind them. And if you can free it, I mean, you think think of a difficult conversation alone, or fear of failure, excuse me. Looking at what is avoided and pushed away behind all those frees the clarity, the energy to move forward, to accomplish those. You know, it's not about getting a strategy or knowing how to do it. It's freeing what's behind it, because we're naturally so capable already. We don't need more. We just need to get back in touch with that part of ourself.
you're just speaking my language. Boy, I had no idea this morning was going to be like this. Is exactly, I mean, anyway, yeah, we should talk offline afterwards.
I love it.
It's lovely.
Yeah, Lyndsey and I had the privilege. I had the privilege. I had the privilege of talking with Lyndsey. It was 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she's an amazing lady. And Lyndsey, we're so grateful for you and being willing to share your experiences with us. And man, time flies so fast when we're doing these interviews. But we would like to. Do you have? We always ask our guests if you have. Do you have three little nuggets or pearls of wisdom that you would like to share with our audience, to give them some things to think about as they go away today?
Yes. So number one, there's nothing that's too much or too wrong about you or the situation you're in. I would say go there, see what's there. You'll be surprised. You'll be excited about the energy that you find there. And I would say keep going. Don't stop. It's when you're on the edge of something so great is when most people stop. And the third is that we're in it together. So keep going because you're supported. We're all in it. And there's nothing to fear or that's too much. We are meant to take the struggle, the frustration, the pain we go through. It's meant to be a power and a gift for us. It was never, ever meant to hold us back. And so I know for you, it will be. Just go and do the work.
Wow.
Awesome. Fantastic little nuggets, and we sure appreciate that. If our audience wants to get a hold of you, connect with you, use your services, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I'd love to connect with anyone, answer any questions too. And I go by Lyndsey V online. So LYNDSEYV. Yeah, it'd be great to connect. This is so fun, both of you.
Well, do you have Facebook or LinkedIn or all the social media platforms? Is that on your web? What's your website?
It's lyndseyv.com.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is-
it's in the
Are your
middle.
social are your social links there?
Yeah, my social links are there, but you can go on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, any of that.
Great.
And I love following all you two are doing with kindness. And I've heard a little bit about some of the conference you're going to, and it's fun to follow. It's such incredible, powerful work.
Well, I appreciate that. And we'll make sure that our audience definitely knows about all your social links because we want them to connect with you. You're a beautiful woman. We so much appreciate the time that you've taken to share with us today. And we want to thank our audience for the time that they've taken to listen in and be with us. And just remind you to take a few minutes and say, what did I learn today? How is it applicable to me? What am I going to do about it? Take the time to reflect on those things and then make a plan and go forth and act. Until next week, until the next time we meet together, remember, with kindness,
Everybody wins.
everybody wins. Thanks so much.
Such a pleasure. Thank you for being on our show.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.